Folks, welcome back. Alex, Nostalgianomics. What in the world do I got going on here? I got money just sitting everywhere? I need to get more serious about this. Today's topic is going to be liquidity, because in any type of investment, liquidity is always on your mind. You're always wondering, how fast can I get my money back out of this investment? And that's all liquidity is. For anyone who wants the definition, that's the definition of liquidity. It's how fast can you turn your investment back into cold, hard cash? And there's different levels of liquidity, and depending on who you talk to, some will like the higher liquid items, some will like the lower liquid items for a slew of different reasons. So we're going to go through all those reasons, the goods and the bads today, and that way you can make up your mind on how to structure your investment or how to structure your collection. So there's obviously going to be some group of people who are going to say, look, I will die with my collection. I'm going to die with my investment, and that's the way it's going to be. And that's fine. There's always going to be those people out there. But for most of us, there will come a point in time, there'll probably come multiple points in times, where you will sell off your collection or your investments or parts of it to free up capital, to buy new parts of your collection, your investment, to do other things in your life, whatever it may be. And so liquidity pretty much applies to almost everyone except the ones that are going to die with it, and more power to you. But when you talk about a very high level of liquidity type of investment, you're talking about stocks, which I would consider peak liquidity. What do I mean by that? I mean, as long as it's an actively traded stock, right? And it's a large company. It's not like an over-the-counter stock that barely has any shares or any shares traded. It's not some penny stock, whatever it may be. You can literally just make an order, send an order at market price, and it's going to sell immediately. You're going to have the money in your account. And then, 2 to 4 business days, you'll have the money back into your bank account, and you turn it into cold hard cash just like that, like magic. And then you'll have other less liquid investments like real estate. So real estate is not very liquid. The reason is, even if you get the best real estate agent and you list your house for a good market price and it sells day one, well, the buyer has to go through inspections. They got to go talk to their mortgage guy and get a mortgage on that house. They got to go get closing done. And basically it takes a matter of 3, 4, 5, 6 plus weeks for all that process to happen. And then you finally get your check. And that's if it sells on day one. That's not if it sits on the market for an extended period of time and takes time to sell. So, selling a house, you might not have that money for 1 month, 6 months, a year plus. You don't know. And just like Pokemon, the higher the values of the house get, the longer it takes to sell. Same thing with Pokemon. We're going to get to that. And so, now you're talking about alternative investments. And you're always thinking, well, how long is it going to take to sell all this if I really wanted to? And this is where my opinion is going to come in. Okay, so opinion now, no facts here. If you're new to the hobby and you're just getting in, your first year, first 2 years, right? And you don't have any gains built in a lot of your collection or investment yet. They're not a lot higher in value than what you paid. And you don't have any profits yet from, selling off parts of your collection or buying and selling or flipping or whatever it may be. It's probably a better idea to stay with the more liquid items. Just because that way, if maybe you wake up one day and suddenly you're not a Pokemon investor anymore. Just like that. You don't want to collect this stuff anymore. You figured out, I don't like it that much. It's not very fun. Then you can get out of it. You're not locked into anything. You can send it all at auction, and you're going to get around market price for it, and you're going to get your money, and it's all going to be gone, and you can wipe your hands clean of it. Whereas, if you have a lot of items that aren't very liquid, that could turn into a disaster, right? Because are you going to just send them all at auction and take huge losses? Because if they're illiquid, they're not going to go for around market price. They're going to go much lower. Or are you going to sit on buy it now listings for the next, weeks, months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, however long it takes for those specific items to sell, which would be a disaster if you're just looking to wipe your hands clean and get out of the hobby. So let's talk about the positives of very high liquidity items. One, like I just talked about, they're very easy to get out of. So what I look for, if you can auction something and it's going to go within 10, 15% of what the buy it now market goes for, that's liquid, right? Technically you could say, well, anything's liquid. I can just send anything at auction that's going to sell. Yeah, okay. If you sell a card at auction, it goes for $100 when the last 5 have sold buy it now at $1,000. I don't really consider that liquid. That's you taking a bath. That's you being foolish. But if the card or the box goes for $100 and you can auction it, it's going to go around, $90 or something. Hey, it's a liquid item. Maybe you take a little less. Maybe it goes for a little more. Maybe a bidding war happens, you make 105. But it's always going to trade in that 10-15% range of the full market price, what it sells for, buy it now. And so those are liquid items, liquid boxes, liquid cards, whatever it may be. And so that's how I would definitely start out in this hobby. Now, me, personally, I love liquidity. I keep 90+% of everything I own in high liquid items. And when things start to age and the prices rise and less buyers are buying those daily, that's usually when I start to move out of a good amount of that inventory and move into more liquid stuff, because I like to be able to transact very freely. I don't want to have inventory that's going to sit on the market for months and years, right? I want to be able to get my cash, get my money, rinse and repeat into new investments and continue to work that process. So let's talk about the liquidity again. So the high liquidity, really easy to sell. You can sell it around market price. Now, the negatives of that. The negatives are, those are going to be a lot more competitive areas. They're going to be a lot more optimized, meaning you are going to have, if it's a sealed product, you're going to have every store online selling on eBay and TCG Player, hundreds of listings, right? You're going to have every LGS's website. You're going to have Amazon, Walmart, Target, GameStop, right? You're going to have your local game stores, the local stores. You're going to have Discord groups and Facebook groups of other people trying to sell it, and it's going to be everywhere. There's going to be a lot thinner margins, more competition, and so you are going to, make a lot less with the more liquid things, especially, when they're at their peak liquidity, right at release, right when they're real new in the first year. Cards the same way. Now, obviously, the big box stores, they don't have cards, but you're going to have the most people grading the most popular and the newest cards, and so you're going to have the most supply on the market at that time, and so because it's so optimized, you're going to have people undercutting each other, and you're going to have razor-thin margins. And so the margins are going to be less, but you can get out, a lot faster. And so, those are kind of the negatives and positives to having the real high liquidity. Now, on the flip side of that, okay, why would you want lower liquid items? Well, some people say it's almost like a forced saving plan, right? It's like a forced investment, because unless you want to take possibly a 30, 40, 50+% loss auctioning it, you gotta list it at buy it now. You gotta wait for that right buyer. And that right buyer might not come for months, 6 months, a year plus, right? Also, you can make higher margins sometimes with the less liquid items, especially if you are the one buying those auctions when they do end way too low. Here's the reason less liquid items end so low at auction a lot of the time. It's because there's no eyes on it, right? So yes, those buyers are out there. They're out there in the world. However, when you put something at auction, whatever it be, 1 day, 3 day, 5 day, 7 day, 10 day, you only have that snapshot of time for those right buyers to find that card or find that box. And if for some reason they're not looking at eBay at those items at that little snapshot of time, then all those buyers missed it, and all you had was the people that did see it, and so there wasn't enough competition to drive the price higher. So that's why you can see a card or a box listed at $1,000 and only be like 3, 4, 5 on the market. You look at last sold, and they all sold for $900, $1,000, $1,100, and then you see an auction go for $200, $300, and you're thinking, what's going on here? That's what's going on. So hey, maybe you want to buy out that auction. Maybe you want to buy it up, you want to sit on it, you want to list it and buy it now, and you want to try and make that play and make those lot larger margins than you're going to make in the real new stuff. And that's a play. If you got the money to lock up, if you got the patience, possibilities there, right? Now, the negatives of low liquidity is obviously you can't get out of it, right? if you want to sell everything today and all you have is really high grade mid-era vintage cards, or real old vintage mid-era boxes, or you have like real niche cards that no one really knows about, that not a lot of people know about, it's going to be hard to get out. And if you list them and buy it now, they're going to sit for extended periods of time. And if you auction them, you are going to take a bath. I mean, you are going to take 30, 40, 50, sometimes more than 50% less than what the actual market buy it now price is. And then people will say, well, Alex, they don't actually sell for those high dollar amounts. The auction's the real market price. It's not true. It's not true. I've known people, I personally sold items at higher rates, and I've seen auctions go literally week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later for 30, 40, 50% less than what I actually sold for. The buyer paid, I shipped it to them, good review, everything was done. And so it's not that those buy it now high prices don't sell. It's that the buyer pool is so small and the sales are very few and far between. So again, if you auction it off, not the right buyers are looking, it can go extremely low. Doesn't mean anyone's scamming, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the sales, doesn't mean there's any pumping, dumping going on. It's just the way the market works. And so for me personally, like I said, I like to stick with liquidity. As items start to get higher, there is a kind of like an unofficial consumer threshold, which I found is usually in that $300 to $600 mark. Now, give or take, you can give or take depending on the item, but usually when it starts getting up in the upper hundreds and the thousands, the buyer pool shrinks significantly. And that's when, even if it's a very popular in-demand item, it can become less liquid even if tons of eyes are on it, right? So it's not always just the rare, scarce items that people aren't seeing. It's just when the dollar amounts get higher. So for me, I like to stick with dollar amounts usually under that for most of my items. When they start to reach those points, I do like to sell them and get in the newer items, the fresher items that are at those lower price points that do have a lot more demand or a lot more liquid. However, this is a big however, it can make sense to have the less liquid items in your collection investment, because the thing with the lesser liquid items, especially if they're more rare, more scarce, there's a lot less competition. One, it also takes a lot less for that market to move up, right? If there's only a few listed on the market, right, and they start getting bought up, the price moves significantly. Where you need, hundreds of people to buy and thousands of people to buy, certain cards or certain boxes to start actually moving the market. And so, if you're looking for those more exponential gains, those more parabolic moves, you can make those, more risky and less liquid plays in hopes something like that happens. I would just recommend it's with a smaller portion of your portfolio. I would still keep the larger portion with the liquidity just in case, right? Just in case you need the money or the kids got to eat. Just in case you need to get out of some things here and there. And so, yeah, that's what I got for you. Hope it makes sense. Hope you take something from it. If you did like it, make sure to comment, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you do want to talk more about this kind of stuff, I do have a Discord community where there's a lot of like-minded people, Pokemon investing style conversations going on in there, questions, things like that, all kind of good stuff. Links in the description. You can go check out the Discord as well. Other than that, be back here in a new video soon. I'm out.